Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Sit and See Live. I'm Dr. Jared Jones. My research included Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, the philosophy of science, the philosophy of mind, and half a dozen other things, including the cognitive science of meditation. I've been meditating about 20 years and training in pretty traditional environments for training in Buddhism and the last 5 years also Dragon Gate Taoism. So I just wanted to start tonight's session by making a couple announcements, but hang in there because I'm going to make those announcements once we have a few more people here. I don't want to do it to an empty room. So let's see. Don't want to do it. Nice. Okay. I'll check this out. All right. All right, my friends. So it looks like for some reason my software is not talking to... Oh, there we go. Now it's talking to YouTube. Fantastic. Okay. So per the usual, this is Sit and See Live. So I'm going to be taking questions and talking about meditation, but there's also some exciting announcements, some exciting developments to go over today. So some of you may have noticed that the sound is hopefully louder and better. Some of you may have noticed that the video quality seems a little bit better and a little bit more stable. And there are reasons for this. So I can't show you by turning this around, but I'm going to do a big update at some point. The beast came in. It is a Nitro V17 AI gaming and streaming laptop. Thanks to your very kind donations, I was able to take everything that came in terms of funding to keep the Dr. Jared Jones YouTube channel going. I was able to take all of those funds and put them into the first major purchase for you. Hopefully, the sound quality will be better than ever, and the video quality will be better than ever. And it is certainly going to be much, much easier to edit to as professional as I can, as basically a nerd and a meditator and not a video editor, to edit things to a professional quality. So you're going to see more video content coming up with the improved camera, the improved microphone and audio setup, and you're going to be seeing a lot more of my face. I've got another exciting announcement. Finally, there is enough traffic through the channel. Hi, Ty. Finally, there's enough traffic through the channel to begin the process of monetization. So very soon, I'll be able to have memberships to keep this channel going, available through YouTube, as well as super chats and all the other cool things that people who spend their lives on YouTube get to do. So yeah, very, very exciting. Pretty soon, you'll be able to, if you'd like, as a member, as a subscriber, chip in whatever it is you'd like to keep the channel going and just have that going on a recurring basis. And then also, there will be super chats. Hopefully, YouTube tells me sometime in the next 2 to 4 weeks, all of that will come online, as long as they don't look at my channel and think I'm a big loser. So... for those of you who are coming through and you've been through before, how does it look? How does it sound? Does it seem like things are running a little better? Because I got to tell you, I used to plug in the old computer and get everything going, and it would just sound like I turned on a vacuum cleaner. You know, I mean, it was just pushing itself to the max, and this thing is just barely humming. You know, this is not a problem for this machine at all, which means I can do even cooler stuff during these streams, like... I use this software some of you may know called OBS, And through OBS, I can do really fun stuff like this. Let's see. So before, my system was so bad that I couldn't use the full set of tools that are available through the software that I'm using to do these streams. But now, my friends, let me show you this. So for example, I can now change over to a new scene, and in that scene, I can add on, well, if it'll let me. There we go. Hold on. There it is. I can add on a window where I can actually talk you guys through some documents. I can talk you guys through some stuff as we go along. In addition to that, through this capability, I can also, let me fix the size of this. So this is the book that I'm working on, by the way. We're currently on 179 pages. I haven't done any updating on it since May 2025, but that's actually not true. I've done a lot. So if you look, for example, let me see how this is coming through on the stream. Yeah, that's not bad. So for example, I have a little bit about me and why I teach it a non-sectarian way. And then I talk about what meditation is, talk about what kind of conditions you need to support your practice, just in sort of a light way, not too deep, because I want to get into techniques first. And then having gone through a fair amount of material in terms of actual techniques, then for people who want to be more hardcore, more serious, then I have my heartfelt advice for lay practitioners, people living in the world. What stuff you actually need to know. So for example, how do you actually maintain the habit of meditation? Well, I have a whole bunch of mental tools for being able to do this, like how to set minimum habits, how to stack habits, why it's important to do less meditation rather than more. Anyways, so there's just a huge amount of extra information just in terms of getting your practice going, right? Then in addition to that, I then get into the scholarly critical descriptions of meditation and the components involved from both a Pali standpoint and a Sanskrit standpoint and a Tibetan standpoint. So I've taken the best, at least the best that I can do, of taking all of these different systems that are described throughout the course of Buddhist history and putting them in one place and helping you understand them. Then having done this and explained, okay, what is this thing called meditation you're actually trying to do, and what conditions does it rely upon? Then I finally get into, okay, you've been trying to do this meditation thing with your mind for a while. What is your mind? And then what are the stages of training your mind? And then in terms of really extensive explanations, what are all of the things that really help from a classical standpoint for you to do this real thing called training the mind to the highest level? And then that's all well and good, but living in the real world, you have to do a lot of modulating of your life to make a lot of progress. You can make some progress without modulating your life, but there are things you can do to help your practice even more. So then I have, how do you handle your cell phone and social media? How important is your diet or not? What about drugs and alcohol and hallucinogens and other things? What about prescription medicines? What about entertainment and romance? What about your hygiene, right? What about your career? How do you manage your time from day to day? So I go into great detail in my humble opinion from many years of practice and study and training in a bunch of different contexts on how to actually accomplish meditation as deeply as you can as a person living in the real world. Right? So this book is for my hardcore trainees, And this book will be in the school course eventually when I finish a bit of editing. Currently in the school course is excerpts from this book just about the specific techniques that I teach. But the book itself, is very rich. There's no fluff anywhere, and it's almost 200 pages. And it'll give you a very good overview of what meditation is and how to train in it and what things are important or not if you're trying to train in real life. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot for a beginner, but if you wanted to be quite serious and do it long term, you have all that information there. Anyway, so yes, now that there's more people here, super excited. Those of you who didn't hear, fantastic announcement. Because you have been so generous, so kind in supporting what I'm trying to do, the device that we're on, the reason you can see every pore on my face and the pimple that I have and everything else is that I was able to use the donations you sent in to totally upgrade the actual device I'm using to do these streams. Because I have a device that's powerful enough to actually manage my audio settings as well, the quality of the audio should have gone up also. So it should be louder, crisper, sound more rich. And the quality of the video, of course, should be better. And also, when I move around quickly and so forth, it shouldn't be choppy. In addition to this, even as the lights go down this evening, because the camera software is better, it should stay brighter. So I know these are small things, but as people who watch a lot of stuff in video format, it does make a difference, right? It makes a difference if it looks like junk and it doesn't sound very good. It makes it harder to watch. So being cognizant of this, yeah, good. Being cognizant of this, I wanted to have the best possible setup so that I could do this the best possible way for all of you. And I'm only able to do that because of the contributions that you made in the last 3 weeks to the efforts. So thanks to all of you. I'm actually going to put up a video fairly soon where I read the names of everyone who contributed and thank them personally in public. So once again, thank you so much, everyone who's chipped in a little bit between here and this point, and there's much more to come. The reason that I invested £1,300 of the money that you've sent so far into this is because I take helping you guys very, very, very seriously. And I want it to be both enjoyable, but also, as it's been up to this point, I hope, quite informative, right? So if it's easier to listen to and easier to watch, fantastic. Right. So that was the big announcement for the day. So you can all leave now. That's it. I'm just kidding. So what this means is that, for example, on the open Q&As now, when someone says, hey, what about this sutra? What about this? What about that? I can actually use my software to pop whatever we're talking about on the screen and be a little talking head in the corner, and we can actually have conversations about things in a much better way. Also, super exciting, I was talking to a gentleman that holds a very rare lineage of Shaolin meditation practice that I've known for a number of years now. He has a very rare lineage of Shaolin training for both meditation and what to do with the body so that the body works well for meditation. And he lives in Canada. And we're going to do a session together where we talk about his system and what he inherited and where he got it from and the history of it, which is really fantastic because he knows way more about Chinese Buddhism and Chinese Buddhist practice and Chinese Taoism and Chinese Tantra and these sorts of things than I do. So you'll get to have the experience, hopefully very soon, of hearing a great Western holder of, a layperson holder of one of these full, complete meditative systems telling you about that system, which makes me really happy. Hopefully, it'll also make you happy. So this will be the first interview that I do through the channel. So that'll be another part of what we do, is interview great lay practitioners living in the real world and talking about how it is they do that and where they got their training and how much training they've done to help inspire us and inform us about what can actually be done if you're serious, right? Yeah. So, okay. All right. So that's the announcements for the day. Again, hopefully sound quality better, hopefully video better. I would say probably in the next 3 to 4 days, I'll put up the next video. Did everybody like the me responding to Christian theologian video? Was that something that was worth putting up? Because I have about, yeah, it's new laptop day. That's why everything sounds better and looks better. That was the announcement I just made. Where have you been? You're late. So, if everybody liked the video on me responding to Dr. Timothy Tennant, I'm going to be responding in the next few days to Dr. Tennant with respect to him, because again, he did an okay job actually. He did an okay job. Again, I have nothing against the man. I would have him over for dinner any day if he were in Edinburgh. So what's really interesting about that video is it showed me that there are people even who have studied this stuff to a relatively, he actually knows much more than most people, but he's still getting huge amounts of it not correct, right? So I thought that was worth responding to, because I think a lot of people have the same questions about the things that he's getting wrong. Like, do we exist or do we not exist? What does it mean that there's no person? What does it mean that there are infinite past births? What does it mean in terms of ethics if you abandon ethics at the end of the path? How could you possibly abandon ethics at the end of the path? Doesn't that mean ethics doesn't actually mean anything? And if there are no sentient beings, doesn't that mean that your compassion is meaningless? Because who are you having compassion for? And so on and so on and so on. No, thank you. Zuckman, welcome. Glad to have you. So the next video I'm going to put up, just so you all know, since you're some of my regulars here, and there's some new people as well, one of the biggest names in Buddhist polemics in India, who taught for many, many, many years and wrote lots of books. I've read good chunks now in preparation over the last 7 days or so. Good chunks of 3 of the books that he wrote that are polemical works against most other religions, but there are big sections on Buddhism. And watched virtually everything that he has available on the entire internet. Although he is now deceased, he has a huge amount of material out there, and read, I don't know how many, but probably at least half of the articles he has on still available around places. So he's a much heavier hitter in terms of critique, and so it'll be, I think, a new layer of interest to cover his work, because he's hitting issues that are more difficult actually. Like, sometimes he does hit the mark, but still there are places where he makes these little mistakes, or he skips over the real argument in ways that are quite common. I don't know who saw the post I put up today about infinite causal sequences, for example. But one of the interesting arguments that he makes, which I won't go into great detail on, is how is it possible to have an infinite sequence that isn't infinite in both directions? In other words, we have a present moment, so there's an end, right? There's an end to the sequence. How is it possible that it's infinite in the other direction? Isn't that a contradiction? If it's sort of finite in one direction, so to speak, that it could be infinite in the other? This is actually a pretty good question that I think normal people might want an answer to. It's really not, Cleric. It's really not. There's a huge amount of material out there that's, if not polemical, at least sort of, how would I put it? Because of the nature of what it is, it stands opposed to the viewpoints that are being put forward in Buddhism. Yeah, apologetics means that you're defending Christianity. Polemics means you're attacking another view, usually systematically. Yeah. Anyways, I'm pretty excited about it. It should be up the next few days. I'll continue doing Q&As and oh, I like me and Jay was my was the person who grilled me for 3 hours to get my PhD. He was on the panel that I had to pass to get my PhD. So I actually talk to Jay by email from time to time, and he's there's a book that I was going to turn my PhD into a book. I'm still on the fence about it, and he's going to read it for me and give me feedback and so forth. Yeah, so Jay and I wouldn't call us friends, but we're sort of colleagues. If I was trying to get a job in academia, he would write me a reference. Yeah, we had a good time debating some things during my the defense of my thesis. I think I did okay. I don't think he got me too bad on anything. Oh, yeah. Okay, sorry. Yeah, the thing is, I'm not actually interested in doing polemics, right? I hope it doesn't come across like I'm just beating up Christianity or something. I just think that these ideas from Buddhism genuinely do hold together. Dr. Scary, I'm going to go live after this session and do a Q&A also. So if you wanted to hang out and do Q&A live with me, you can either hang out for this session. We've got about 40 more minutes. We're going to do probably 30 minutes of practice and then 10 more minutes of questions after that. And then I'm going to go straight into a live stream for a proper Q&A and probably hang out with everybody for an hour or two, depending on how things are going. So yeah, if you want to ask those, if you save that question and come back in an hour, I'll answer it then. I try to keep it. I mean, I chat with you guys before we get going while people are coming in, but I try to keep it as tight as possible around meditation for this stream. Otherwise, it would become, pretty quickly we'd be talking about everything from AI to aliens to hallucinogens, as tends to happen in the other stream. Okay. Well, my friends, fellow travelers, shall we do some practice? Are there any meditation-related questions before we begin? I'm not super familiar with the Waking Up app. You know what? Funny. I'm going to answer that question because I think it's so important. But questions like this, if it's not about your personal practice, try to save it for the other stream, for the Q&A, the live Q&A. But that's an extremely important question. Even at the time of the Buddha, there are two of his lay students who were considered to be great meditators. I mean, accomplished meditators. And I actually have that as part of the introduction to my book because I think it's really important for us as lay people to realize that all throughout Buddhist history, you have examples of great meditators who were lay people. And this includes, as far as I've seen, every place Buddhism has gone, there are examples of great lay people in terms of these practices. So it's important, if you don't plan on becoming a monk or a nun, and you think you really do want to make progress in meditation, it's important to know that there are examples from history of people who have made extremely profound progress in their practice and been regarded as great practitioners, even though they're not monks or nuns, and even though they're not living in a cave somewhere as a layperson. Extremely important to know this. There's no excuse for us. Sorry. The reason you're not a great meditator is because you're not putting in the work. You don't know what it is. You haven't studied enough material. This is why. The great meditators, they learned the material, they put in the time, they put in the effort, they put in the practice, and they gained accomplishment, just like the monks and nuns and people living in caves. So we can do this. It's not something I'm making up. You can do this. I can do this. It's possible. Meditation apps. Okay, since this is about your personal practice, before we get into doing some seated sessions today, it's my opinion that many of the meditation apps that are out there today, if you ask this question, what is meditation? And then you come up with a proper definition for what meditation is, and you apply it to the things that you find in these apps. Much of what you find in the apps, not all of it, but much of what you find in the apps is not meditation. It maybe is something that's relaxing, which is fine, like pink noise, or I don't know, certain types of frequencies of sound, or whatever. Nothing wrong with that. Or certain types of just sort of thinking through gratitude, and those are very popular, but it's not meditation. If you define what meditation is, those won't fit in. How much should you meditate per day? I recommend starting with 5 minutes. Do 5 minutes and do it with a technique that will produce the initial stages of meditation. And then once you can do 5 minutes, do 2 or 3 5-minute sessions a day to make that skill really, really well established. So instead of doing 15, 20, 30 minutes, do 5 minutes at extremely high intensity in a way I'm about to describe. And this will give you the first 2 skills of training in meditation, because there are layers according to the great yoga. Like in the document I just showed you, where it said 9 stages of meditation, that comes from a 7th or a 9th century text by one of the great Buddhist scholars and yogis. And he said, if you look at the stages you go through to train in concentration for meditation, there are 9 of them. And each stage requires different stuff. And the first 2 stages require extremely high intensity of effort. And then the later yogis said, for this early part, it's better if you do short sessions because the effort is so high. It's like doing high weight, low repetition workout. High intensity, low repetition, right? So you do 5 minutes, take a little break, do 5 minutes, take a little break, and you do it extremely high intensity. And this will give you the first skills of meditation very quickly, instead of it taking forever or not happening at all. Okay. And then from there, your practice will grow. If you add on other techniques, you'll just start sitting longer and just sort of follow it into however long you sit. But stop before you get tired of it. So stop when you feel like you still want to do a bit more, and then you're going to want to come back the next day. Yeah, I mean, 1 hour, if you can do 2 hours a day, that's great. It just depends on what you're doing. For something that specific and personal, if you do have the ability personally to do 2 hours and you want some advice, send me a message through Facebook. I have my Facebook link in the thing below, because it'd be better if I give you personal advice. Yeah, it depends on the method, because if you're doing certain kinds of techniques and you don't know what you're doing, it'll actually make you worse at meditation to sit for 2 hours. I'm not making a joke. This is actually a known thing. If you sit with your mind in the wrong condition, then you're training your mind to be worse than it was before you started. This is why it's important to do high quality in the beginning and not quantity. Now, if you had 2 hours, do 6 sessions of 5 minutes each with 5 or 10 minutes in between. So if you have the ability to sit that long, if you have that amount of time and you have the drive to do it, then pick a technique that can fix the first problems you have in meditation and do several sessions. See, this is it. This is the big thing. Again, on the apps and on the videos and on the thing where somebody's leading you through a gratitude meditation, nobody's telling you what it means to train. Nobody tells you what the stages are. Nobody tells you what happens and what's supposed to happen and the problems you have. This is the problem, which I can't fix right now. I can't fix that tonight. But if you reach out to me on Facebook, I can talk to you. Same with you. Yeah. So I can talk to you about it and get you started on something. I'm happy to get on the phone with you too. I actually prefer that. As people here will tell you, I can get on the phone and talk to you for 3 hours. This is what I do. No, you're not wasting time. But I want to do some practice with everybody, and I can't answer that question with enough detail to help you at this moment. But if we had some time to talk, like on the phone back and forth, then I can talk you through it and then get you some resources that'll help you understand it. And then we'll take it a step at a time, So I'm definitely, yeah. No, of course. Again, this is why I'm here. There are a number of people now that are basically contributing monthly or contributing as they can to make sure that there's enough money so that I can do this for free for everybody. I'm not quite there yet in terms of the number of people that I need to contribute to be able to do it without having to do anything else, but we're getting there. So my time belongs to you guys because the community has come together to provide me with enough resources that this is all I do. So you're not wasting my time. I'm happy to pick up the phone, and if you have time, talk to you for 4 hours about your practice. I belong to you. Okay. So let's do some actual practice. So we have some new people, so we'll start with intensive breath. But for the people who have been here for a little while longer, we're going to do opening the visual gate. So we'll go breath, a little bit of body scanning. We're going to go straight to the visual gate because I had an eye appointment today and had a very fascinating conversation with my eye doctor, which I'll tell you about later. Okay. If I sit here and talk about this volume, can everybody hear me okay? With the new setup, I just want to make sure that I can, sit this far back from the mic and actually give you the instructions. Did I freeze? Is the delay really that long? Is it like a 30-second delay? Okay. So I am coming through still. Are you guys able to hear me from here, or do I need to adjust myself? Because we're about to start a session. I'm just trying to understand what I need to do with the mic setup. Just let me know if you can hear me okay, or if I need to move closer to the mic or what. Okay, good. All right. Parikanch. I'm going to go live and do an open Q&A after the meditation session. So that'll be in about 45 minutes. So I will answer that during that session if you join me for that. Okay? All right, let's get going. So first, just breathe in at a normal pace through your nose. Find the most sensitive patch of skin inside your nostril. Now, this will sound strange for those of you who have done meditation in other systems, and in particular, a lot of the modern sort of apps and things are not going to describe it this way, but this is very important, has a deep historical basis, and this is the advice from great, great yogis, much better than myself. Place your mind with extremely high intensity, as if your life depends upon it, on that patch of skin. The Buddha even went so far as to say, imagine that somebody will kill you immediately if your mind moves off the object. Put every single ounce, every atom of your being into holding the mind on that patch of skin. Okay? The only exception to this is you count from 1 to 7, 7 to 0, in your mind. When you get to 0, you can move around a little bit, etc. But other than that, keep yourself completely still and absorb your mind 100% into the object, and a little corner of your mind to do the counting at the end of each breath. Okay? So when I say begin, it's also really important that you bring your mind immediately to the activity with no delay. Because the skill we're gaining is being able to bring your mind to the activity right away and hold it there and make your mind do what you told it to do. This is the first skill you need if you want to train in meditation. If you don't have that skill, you basically can't do anything else. All right? So we're just going to do this for 5 minutes. It's quite a short period of time, but extremely high intensity. Okay? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, begin. Okay. Let's go straight from the breath to the body scan. So just take a moment. Don't do anything in particular with your mind. Just sort of stay where you are. If you need to move a little bit, then move a little bit, but try to keep marinating in the effect of having done that part of the practice, but you don't have to do anything in particular. Just take a little mental break, but don't let yourself fully come out of the concentration that you're in. Okay, bring your mind now to your left foot, left ankle. Actually, my apologies, brief instructions because there are new people. When I say bring your mind to this, what I mean is feel the actual tactile sensations in that part of the body. So you're not visualizing anything, you're not imagining anything, you're not trying to figure anything out, you're not sort of picturing what the different parts are there. You're simply becoming aware of the actual physical tactile sensations in that part of the body. And then when I name the next part, you simply move your awareness to the next part. Don't linger and don't rush forward. Simply move when you hear the instruction to move. Okay, here we go. Place the mind in the left foot, left ankle, left calf, left knee, left thigh, left hip, right foot, right ankle, right calf, right knee, thigh, hip, now from the hip, move your awareness forward and feel the entire front of the pelvis. Now the back of the pelvis, including the buttocks in contact with the floor. From the back of the pelvis, squeeze your attention into a smaller point and focus just on the tailbone. Slide your awareness forward to the anus, perineum, and then I'm not going to describe it, but take your time, a few minutes, no, not a few minutes, but a few moments, and just scan through your sexual organ. And then when you finish, come to rest at the tip of the organ. From the tip of the organ, slide backwards, back to the pelvis, and come to the, for those of you who are new, before you were focusing on the front of the pelvis. So just above that area, the lower abdomen, is the front of the waist, right? Your waist belt, we could say, stretches around the body like a belt. So place your awareness on the front part of the waist belt. And then place your awareness on the back side of the waist belt. And place your awareness now moving up to the next third of the torso. Place your awareness in the diaphragm belt. So that's going to be from your solar plexus to the top of your waist, right? So just above the belly button to the solar plexus. And then just turn that sort of line between the solar plexus and the area just above the belly button into a band that stretches around the body. And that's where your diaphragm is. So just be aware of the front of the diaphragm belt. Be aware of the back of the diaphragm belt. Bring your mind now to the front of the chest. So from the solar plexus up to the, what do they call it? The nape of the neck. So just below the collarbones. And when I say the back of the chest in a moment, do not include, if you have the ability, do not include your shoulder blades, which are part of your shoulders, not your back. So be aware of the front of the chest. And then just sort of follow with your awareness around the sides of the chest to the back of the chest and see if you can get underneath the shoulder blades and just be aware of the torso part, so to speak, of the chest area in the back. Now bring your awareness to the top of the left shoulder, front of the shoulder, outside, and now the back of the shoulder. Include the shoulder blade, which is an extremely important functional part of the shoulder. Now the armpit. And take the awareness down. And when I say the bicep, I don't just mean the bicep muscle. I mean, once again, just the band of tissue, that whole area from below the shoulder to the start of the elbow, the bicep region. So become aware of the entire bicep region. And now the elbow. And the forearm. The wrist. And as if you had no fingers, become aware of the palm and the back of the hand as one piece. And then become aware of your thumb, pointer, middle, ring, pinky. And then move to the top of the right shoulder and be aware of the top of the right shoulder. Front of the right shoulder. Outside. And as before, with the back of the shoulder, include the shoulder blade, if you can. Into the armpit. Into the bicep region. Elbow. the forearm, the wrist, the palm and the back of your hand, thumb, pointer, middle, ring, pinky. Now come up to the bottom third of your neck. When I say the bottom third, we're now talking about beneath the collarbones and all of the tissue that connects to the top of your shoulders. So that cone of tissue connecting the neck to the rest of the body. And again, try not to imagine anything, just feel what you can actually feel in that cone. The middle third of the neck. And finally, the upper third of the neck, which is another sort of a cone or triangle. Now, if you can, try to get as much of your awareness as possible into the joint between the neck and the skull. Bring your mind now to the back of the scalp, left side of the scalp, the right side of the scalp, your left ear, right ear, and your forehead. Your left eyebrow and left eye, your right eyebrow and right eye, your nose, left cheek, and when I do my cheek, I generally include my temple also. So just sort of the left cheek and temple area. And then the right cheek. The upper lip, so not your top lip, but the skin above your lip. And then your chin. Now your top lip, bottom lip. And from there, just sort of slide your mind into the skin that's on the inside of your mouth. Now scan your teeth. The roof of your mouth. Underneath your tongue. And then from there, become aware of your tongue. Now move the awareness to the tip of the tongue and just sort of slide it backwards along the tongue until you arrive at the throat, and then be aware of the throat. From there, move upwards finally and arrive at the top of the scalp, and just become aware of the top of your head. Okay, now from here, we're going to go straight into being aware of the visual consciousness. But as we did with the previous exercise, just take a moment to just relax your awareness. Don't fully come out of concentration, but just sort of relax your awareness out of the previous exercise, if that makes sense. Keep the eyes closed if they're already closed. If you need to move a little bit to get rid of some pain you're feeling somewhere, or adjust your legs or what have you so that you don't have pain during the next portion, that's fine. So for those of you who are new, this next part is going to seem exceedingly weird, but bear with me. This technique is part of one of the most profound systems of practice in the Tibetan tradition. It comes through the Indian Mahasiddha tradition, and it's called Mahamudra. Mahamudra, the Great Seal, as it's translated into English, has lots of nice steps and stages that allow you to slowly over time become aware of all of the major components that make up your being in terms of your experience of both yourself and of other objects. And because of this, and because it progresses in steps and stages that are easy to accomplish, it according to the great masters, like the first Panchen Lama of Tibet, for example, is suitable both for advanced practitioners and for rote beginners. It's also very easy to take this practice into your real life, which is, if you haven't noticed, kind of my whole shtick. So, to begin, Mahamudra practice, the Great Seal, has two major aspects. The most profound sort of advanced aspect would be to do this type of practice in the midst of some type of tantric training, and I'm not going to go into too much detail on that. The level of practice we're doing here comes from the sutra level, the non-tantric level of these practices, where you're dealing with your ordinary minds, your five external senses, and your relatively ordinary human mind. So eventually you would do this with all of your senses, but today we're just going to do it with vision only. So first, just open your eyes. Let the muscles around your eye relax so that your eye is pointed forward instead of down. You have to tense one of the muscles on your eyes to pull them downward. So let them find a neutral position. Then, once you're gazing forward, take note that you shouldn't be looking at anything. You're not looking, you're not selecting an object in your visual awareness and focusing on that object. You're just pointing your eyes And yes, something will be in the middle, but you're not looking at it or focusing in on that object. This is very important. So first I just want you to gaze for a moment and do your best to imagine, or not imagine, but to notice that your whole visual field, actually, if you're not focusing on any one particular thing, it's a bit like a movie screen or a laptop screen. The whole image is sort of presented to you at once, if that makes sense. So it's actually possible, for example, to take your attention, just like you're looking at a movie screen, to take your attention and look with your attention without moving your eyes. You can look with your attention to the right, for example. So you can become extra aware of your peripheral vision to the right. There's no need to tell me if that happens or not, but do your best to become aware of everything to the right without moving your eyes. Okay, let that go. Same thing, try to swim your awareness over to the left without moving the visual, without moving the eyes, and just become aware of the left peripheral field. Now, let that go. Swim sort of upward. Again, don't move the eyes, but swim upwards and become aware of the uppermost part of the visual field. Now, once again, let that go and let your awareness swim downwards to the lower part of the visual field. And let that go. And this one's a bit difficult, but without looking at a particular object, sort of swim around the center of the visual field to see the things that are furthest to the front without looking at a particular object. Just become more aware of the central part of the field, which is going to be the furthest away to the front, right? And then let your awareness swim backwards towards where vision is originating and become aware of those things that are closest to you. I'm going to call this behind or back for the sake of other aspects of this exercise. So what you're going to notice and see close up is that you have a nose. Maybe if you have a beard, you can see your mustache. Maybe you can see your eyebrows or your eye sockets. So there's stuff that's up close in the visual field. So now that we've gone through all the components making up the visual field, continue to gaze, and some of you might notice that you're starting to see geometric shapes, weird movement, colored light. Sometimes you'll see white or gold light. You'll notice that your peripheral vision gets really weird. All of that is normal and okay, and your eyes will go completely back to normal when we get done. So don't worry. All of that's normal, and don't let it distract you. So now we're going to start combining directions. So continue to gaze without moving the eyes. You can blink, but don't change your gaze. So become aware of everything to the front and behind. In other words, the furthest forward and the closest to you. So hold both of those at once. Okay, let that go. Now become aware of the furthest to the left and the furthest to the right, and hold both of those at once. Okay, let that go. Become aware of everything as high up in your visual field as you can see, and everything as low in your visual field as you can see. Hold those two directions. Okay, let that go. Now begin to combine the directions even further. So we're going to add the components that we've worked on so far. We're going to add them all together. So if you can't do all 6 at the same time, then just do 4 of them And my advice would be to do up, down, left, right. If you can do all 6, great. So let's begin with forward and back. Maintain that as best you can and add another third of your awareness to left and right. Hold that as best you can and use the last third of your awareness to add on up and down. And your vision's probably getting pretty weird right now, but I promise it will go back to normal. Don't get distracted. The object is the entire visual field, not anything in particular in the field. So don't let your mind get drawn in by the changes happening to your vision. Good. Now just refresh the directions, front, back. Still maintaining all the directions. Refresh left, right. Refresh up, down. And hold 6 directions. For those of you who have been doing this with me for a while, do the next part of the exercise. For those of you who are new, just stick with 4 or 6 directions. If you've already been doing this with me for a few weeks and you're getting comfortable with this practice, then do the next part, which is, now that the visual consciousness is open, release the directions and just take in the entire visual field as if you were looking at one big screen, without letting your attention get pulled into any part of the entire image. So the object of focus is the entire visual image. Okay, whether or not you're maintaining the 4 or 6 directions, or you're simply abiding in the nature of visual consciousness, we're now going to do one more element. So take your visual awareness now, maintaining it with the 4 directions, 6 directions, or fully open awareness, and simply slowly move your eyes to the left, and don't let your mental awareness, rather, get pulled into any aspect of what changes when you look to the left. So maintain the openness of the awareness or the directions you've selected as you turn the eyeballs to the left. So look to the left slowly. Now bring the eyes forward. Reestablish the directions if you need to. And then turn the eyes to the right. Back to the front. Look up. Back to the front. Look down. Back to the front. Same thing, maintain the directions or the full openness and turn your head to the left. Back to the front. Maintain the directions or the openness. Turn your head to the right. And come back to the center. And just sort of blink, let your eyes return to normal. William, good to meet you. If you're still here, I'll see you for some practice another day. Have fun. So you can see with the visual practice, for example, just as an example, where the little bits we did at the end are just little extra challenges you're adding on to this visual practice, where first you just establish it in the middle, and then to increase your ability to maintain that as conditions change, you train yourself, okay, if I'm looking to the left, I keep it open, to the right, keeping it open, so that you're training your nervous system, you're training your mind to be able to maintain the openness even when the image is changing. You see? And then it's a little more challenging because now you're engaging all of this stuff instead of just these little tiny muscles. So you're using more bandwidth. So now you're turning and you feel your body more and there's more going on. And so if you were doing this as a progressive series of training, then you might try it after this. You might try it standing. And then once you can do it standing, you would do it walking. And then once you can do it walking, now you can actually take it on the road and use it during your daily activities. And if you can tame your eyes, in a manner of speaking, then things that appear to you visually will have it'll be much greater, how do I put this? It'll be way more difficult for things that appear in the visual field to pull your mind out of itself and start a process of either chasing something or running away from it. Because you're training the mental consciousness, you're training the mind to not be drawn out of itself by what appears in the visual field. And therefore, as we go along with this practice, and if you do more of this practice, and we usually don't make it that far during these sessions because we need more time. And sometimes we do marathon sessions, but not all the time. So once you've tamed vision, then you need to tame hearing, smell, taste, the body. Once you've tamed the 5 external senses and the mind doesn't get pulled too much out of mental consciousness to follow these external parts of yourself, then I'm sure you've seen it everywhere because this is what everybody tells you to do. then you can finally simply be aware of the flow of internal experience. Prior to this time, prior to having your external senses somewhat tame, not even perfectly tame, but somewhat tame, I can't see really how a person could place their mind on the flow of internal content of the mind and not get pulled out constantly by their senses. You only have a limited bandwidth to focus your attention on any aspect of your being. And so if 80% of your bandwidth is absorbed by the 5 external senses, you have very little to use to place on the mind itself. So in the Mahamudra approach, you tame your external senses, then you turn your awareness towards the mind itself and become aware of the flow of stuff happening in the mind. And you don't get drawn out very easily. And then because you're focusing on it and not adding to it for the first time in your life, it starts to become less and you start to see gaps. And when there are gaps, the mind starts to notice what consciousness itself is actually like. Mental consciousness, what it's like. And then doing this, then you have finally contacted the 6 major components that make up who and what you are as a being. Prior to that time, it's just philosophy and guesses and taking other people's word for it, because you haven't actually looked, or you've looked but you haven't been able to see anything because your mind is too busy chasing things, right? So then if you want to talk about meditating on selflessness, emptiness, all of the sort of impermanence, the cool and sexy stuff that you read in the texts, finally, once you can contact all the elements of your being, you have the ability to investigate what they are and how they exist. Prior to that time, you can't do that. You can think about it and make some progress by thinking about it, but without direct contact, you don't have the best evidence. The evidence you have isn't experiential. The evidence you have is good reasons. And so the impact that the analysis into emptiness or selflessness or impermanence or these other things won't be as powerful, because the more powerful the reasoning, the evidence you use, the more powerful the transformation will be when you recognize how something exists through a meditative training, right? Okay, my friends, I'm going to sign off of this stream now, transfer over to, after a short break, and I have to get my little open Q&A cookies so that I can have a cookie. and I'll do the open Q&A. So come right back, and if you have more meditation questions, you can jump onto that stream and I'll answer them as part of the live Q&A. And I'll probably do 2 hours or so because I'm not going to do anything else tonight after this. So that is it. If you felt this was meaningful, if you felt this was worth attending, in the description, in the chat, and down below in the description for the video, there's a little place to send some money through. Like I said, I don't charge for anything, but if the community comes together and chips in a little bit, then I mean, with 1,500 followers, I think it's like, if only like 300 people chipped in $5 a month, I'm pretty close to what I need to survive and carry on doing this for everybody. So, chip in what you can. And right now it's more meaningful than ever, really, because we're at the beginning and there's not many people doing it. So whatever you can contribute, deeply appreciated. And it'll help me do this and grow this so that I can help you guys more and I can help a lot of other people. So please do chip in if you are able. For those who don't make it to the other stream, thank you for coming. Hope to see you again very soon. Don't pass away before I do.